The 30th anniversary of Pokemon is coming soon, or should we say it's almost here, and it's really exciting. There's been a ton of leaks recently that are pointing towards a classic collection. Now, I personally think that a classic collection would be really fantastic, and I think it's going to happen because if you take a look at this right here, the Pokemon Company International did say that this Pokemon Presents is going to be the best one ever. Now that's a pretty big ever to say because there's been a lot of Pokemon Presents that were honestly really good. Like the one back in 2021, we got Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, Legends Arceus, and I believe Scarlet and Violet was announced then. I could be wrong about that. But the point is, we got just so many awesome announcements. So I think this one would have to reveal something pretty big to be the best one ever. And the ones that I think that are going to be revealed is, of course, Pokemon Generation 10, and then we got this Classic Collection. Now, what does this Classic Collection imply? Now, I believe during this Classic Collection, we are going to be seeing some of the original Pokemon games. Or this could be for some sort of a remaster or re-release of some remakes of Pokemon games. Now, this Classic Collection could go in 3 different ways, and I'm going to be trying to explain everything in this video. So starting off with the first way that the Classic Collection could work, we could see them all on Nintendo Switch Online. Now I know this is not the greatest place to play these games, maybe you actually want to own your games, well then there's another way that we're going to be talking about. But what if this Nintendo Switch Online, maybe they're going to do it different. Since we don't already have the Pokemon games, maybe they're going to be you need an online subscription for some reason and then you can buy them on the eShop so they act special, or you have to buy this and then you can buy them on the eShop. Who knows, but I believe that this would imply the first 3 games, or should we say the first 2 games, depending if they do Pokemon Green and Red and Blue. But no matter the case, if you look at this right here, this really seems to be like this could be some leak that points towards the Classic Collection. Of course, it could be Generation 10 like everyone assumes it to be, but I think that it could imply for the original Pokemon games getting a re-release. Yes, that includes Pokemon Green if you wanted to play that, because that was never officially released to the US and Canada and everywhere else besides Japan, I believe. But the other way that we could see this Classic Collection is in box form. So kind of like we've seen it in the past with the Mario bundle, where we had Mario Sunshine and Mario Galaxy, and we also had Mario 64 all on one cartridge. You put in the cartridge and you get to select which game you want to play. Now this definitely could work. Now in this we would probably see Pokemon Yellow and Pokemon Red and Blue. That would make one cartridge, and then they could maybe do another one for Johto games, like you would have Pokemon Silver and Gold, and you would have Crystal on that cartridge. Now that definitely would be a really great way to play your Pokemon game, and I honestly think that this could actually happen in so many different ways, but more on that later. Then the third option could actually be a re-release of the remasters that we got for certain Pokemon games. So yes, I'm talking about Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver, maybe even Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green, and maybe, who knows, the Oris games, because Pokemon Generation 10 is supposed to be some island theme, and what better island theme game than, I would honestly say, Oris. That really has everything, every mechanic that seems to be in Pokemon Generation 10. Now, of course, you could say Sun and Moon because that's more of an island vibe than any Pokemon game. But I honestly think that if they're going to do something like this, it would be these 3 games. These 3 games would be added at some point, and then later on we can get other games, because right now we don't have Generation 2 and we don't have Generation 3, so what better way to do that than to re-release them? And also I wanted to point out, and if you took a look at the Pokemon official Twitter account, you can see that they put out this post. Now this is about Pokemon Red and Blue, or something to do with Pokemon as a whole, which is definitely really interesting, and it makes you believe if this was all added together, it would make for a pretty good Classic Collection. I bet that Pokemon is going to release more and more before the actual day. February 27th, but hey, it's going to be really interesting. Also, if you were watching the Super Bowl last night, personally, I'm not the biggest fan of Super Bowl, but I did find the ads really interesting, and one in particular that was pretty interesting is in fact the one that Pokemon does say, what's your favorite Pokemon, that everyone should be together kind of thing. That's their model. If you don't remember, that is essentially the model of the first Pokemon game, which makes you believe that this could actually be, because you used to have link cords that you would trade with your friends, and honestly, it was a whole fun situation. So maybe they're going to bring all of that back to maybe the DS games, maybe the original games, or as Game Boy. All of these things really made everyone connect to each other, so I think that this really interesting Super Bowl ad could be that. We also saw a Jigglypuff jumping around off and down the sofa and a whole bunch of things. Now, I did originally believe that this is because this is the 30th Pokemon, but it's not the 30th Pokemon. In fact, it's the 39th Pokemon in the Pokedex. So what exactly does this mean? Is it just because Jigglypuff is a lovable Pokemon that sings happy birthday? Who knows? But overall, I found that to be really interesting. Now, usually I'm not one for ads interrupting my video, but hey, all of these ads were so good. What are your thoughts on the Super Bowl or even the Olympics? Because I'm a big fan of the Olympics right here. Then there's been some other leak or rumors that are circulating across the internet about Generation 5 getting a remaster. Now, I think that this definitely could happen. So it's either Generation 5 gets a remaster and then we just see the classic collection, nothing changed, just the original Game Boy games, just get on the cartridge or just get some sort of Switch Online port. And then we see Generation 5 and Generation 10. That would make for a really fantastic Pokemon Presents. Or, like I said, you don't see Generation 5, but you see the remasters or remakes of the original game. So Fire Red and Leaf Green, and Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver, and potentially Oris. Who knows, that would be really, really a great time for Pokemon fans across the world. So what are your thoughts on this? Do you think that we are going to be seeing the original Pokemon games making their way to Nintendo Switch? Do you think the Classic Collection is actually going to happen? Because I'm just going to say, if the Classic Collection does happen, this is going to happen on Nintendo Switch 1 and Nintendo Switch 2. Because you got to remember that a lot of Nintendo fans don't have their hands on a Switch 2 yet. And that's completely fine. That's completely okay. So I believe that if we are going to be getting a Classic Collection, that's going to be on Nintendo Switch 1 and Nintendo Switch 2. And then we're going to have Generation 10, which is going to be just a Nintendo Switch 2 game, which makes the most sense because this has supposedly going to have a lot of art direction, graphics that are actually going to look good, and the game should run at 60 FPS, which the Nintendo Switch 1, let's be honest, is probably not going to run or look great either. So Classic Collection on Nintendo Switch 1, and then just the other game, Generation 10, on Nintendo Switch 2. So, anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. Consider letting me know what you're most excited for, Generation 10, Classic Collection, or something else. Are you excited for the 30th anniversary of Pokemon, or are you more into the Nintendo things, the Nintendo side of the deal? Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Consider to watch this video right here if you want to know more on the Pokemon Presents. And thank you so much. See you in the next one.